Hi, everybody. I am Len Leatherwood, and I am so pleased that you've come tonight, and I really appreciate that you're taking time out of your busy day and evening to come spend time with me. I am very, very happy about having the opportunity to share with you the joys of writing flash fiction, flash memoir, or we can call that also non-fiction. The way I cannot see you, this is a webinar, so that makes it a little hard. I would love it if I could see all of your faces, but that's not how this is going to work. So there'll be periods of time that I'm going to read you several flash stories. At that point, I'm going to ask you to I'm going to say what stood out and just write something very small in the chat box, and then I'll go to that. We'll look at it very quickly. My goal for tonight is that we're going to read some 2 or 3, depending on our time, wonderful stories, so you can see what the gold standard is. And then I also, we're going to talk about tips, very specific tips on writing flash. I am not going to make a big distinction between flash fiction and flash memoir or nonfiction tonight, because when you're writing flash nonfiction, whether it's memoir or essay, for the most part, you are going to use a lot of the same techniques that you would use for fiction. And we're going to discuss those in just a bit, okay? And then I'm very hopeful that we will have time for you to write, and that we'll have time for everybody to share just a little. You won't be able to share your whole thing, but you'll be able to share maybe a line or two that you thought was especially wonderful, okay, of whatever you write. So that's our overview for this evening. I guess I should introduce myself. I am Len Leatherwood. I am the current president of Story Circle Network. I am also the online classes coordinator for Story Circle Network. I coordinate these with my daughter, Liz, who's the program director for Story Circle Network. I coordinate these, we coordinate these webinars. This is the first time I've actually had my own webinar, so now I'm going to be a lot more empathetic to those who do them, because I do see that not being able to see you is a disadvantage, because I'm used to being able to read your faces and that kind of thing if I'm presenting at a conference. I have been with Story Circle Network since I think 2008. I adore this organization. It has had a huge impact on my writing, my ability to publish, my ability to have a sisterhood of writers. And I am delighted that you're all part of this tonight. And if you're not a member, I hope you'll consider becoming a member. If you are, keep at it. This is a great group. So let's talk about, I am published in flash fiction, flash memoir, flash, I think of it as flash essay. That, essay oftentimes is within the same parameters as flash. And so I'm published in all 3 of those. I'm a Pushcart nominee in flash fiction, and Pushcart is, those are the best of the small presses. So that is quite an honor for me to even have been nominated for that by a literary magazine. I also teach flash fiction and I teach a lot of classes at Story Circle Network, but I also flash fiction, flash memoir, essay writing, all of those things, and have for the last, since 2009. So and I'm also a writing coach and have been for over 20 years. I work with students of all ages. I focus primarily on college essay writing, which is personal narrative, medical school, dental school, law school, all of those personal narratives, which is all really basically, you can consider it flash writing in its own way. It's flash essay because they all have very, very tight constraints on their word count. Okay, so here we go. Let's talk about the joys of writing flash fiction and flash memoir. Let's see if I can get this to move. Let's see. Okay, now when you're talking about what flash writing is, and it doesn't matter if we're doing nonfiction or fiction, these are the word counts. Flash fiction, flash nonfiction, maximum 1,500 words. And maximum, that means maximum. Usually it's more like 1,000 words, maybe 1,200, okay? Sudden fiction, max 750. Drabble or microfiction, max 100 words. Twitterature, maximum 280 characters. And 6-word stories. And believe it or not, there are actually 6-word stories out there. Hemingway is, let's see, for sale, baby shoes, never worn. That's a 6-word story. It's attributed to Hemingway. There's some question about that. But I think you can tell in those 6 words, for sale, baby shoes, never worn, there's a story. All right. So
can I interrupt you for 1 second?
Yes.
We have a question about what drabble means.
Well, drabble is microfiction. It's just microfiction, maximum 100 words. It's just, they just make up these words. It's like Twitterature. It's just think of it as microfiction. Okay, let's proceed. There we go. All right, so in case you've thought that flash writing is something that is new, that's not true. Flash writing has been going on for a long, long time. Chekhov has written some of the most superb flash stories you'll ever read. Hemingway is well known, Raymond Carver, Kate Chopin, Virginia Woolf. These are just to name a few. Contemporary flash writers, Lydia Davis, we're going to hear a lot about her. George Sanders in the New Yorker all the time with flash. Jamaica Kincaid, a wonderful author and also a flash writer. Joe Williams writes a lot of more spiritual flash. Stuart Dybek, Meg Pokris. I hope we get to her story tonight. I have one that I picked. But this is not in the last 25 years, it has become much more well-known, and it has a great deal of heft. I will tell you that. It is not, it's not like just flash. These writers all take it very seriously. They have been published. The New Yorker every summer has flash stories that they publish that are amazing. There are almost every publication that you could look for. We'll talk about that in a little while. They're going to have a flash category. So this isn't, no pun intended. I mean, a pun definitely intended. There's no flash in the pan here. Okay, this is here to stay. And on top of that, it is an amazing way to learn how to compress your writing. Whether you're writing short, medium, like short, which is what flash is, short stories, or long, for example, in novels, all right? This will improve your writing across the board. Okay, so Lydia Davis is sort of the queen of flash writing at this point, and for very good reason. She has, you'll read some of her things here tonight. She's an amazing writer. She won a MacArthur Fellowship in 2003. She was elected as Academy of Arts and Sciences. I can't see that, but I've got, that's blocked. I can't see it, and then she was named, this is the big one, the 2013 Man Booker International Prize. She was the winner of that. these were flash fiction stories. The official announcement for the Man Booker Prize was her work. They described it as her work as having the brevity and precision of poetry. So that begs the question, what exactly is the difference between prose poetry and flash? So let's see. Okay, here we go. So Nancy Stolman is another big name in flash fiction, editor of many unfortunately, let me move my thing. I can't actually read what this says. Editor of 3 books of flash fiction and 3 anthologies. So she's spent a lot of time on this. She's got a great website, by the way. And what she said is, for her, the difference in prose poetry versus flash fiction is the urgency, is the sense of urgency. So in prose poetry and vignettes are driven by imagery and emotion. You might actually spend a lot of time on describing a flower, for example. Your whole prose poem could be about a flower, okay, or a vignette, you know, of a garden, for example. Flash fiction, flash memoir, they have a desperate need to tell a story before it's too late. That's the difference. One is dwelling on imagery and emotion. The other is telling a story. So let me show you this. Well, I wish I could figure out how to move these effectively. Let's see how that's not working. Let's see. Okay. I didn't think that's, I think I missed a slide. Hold on. No, maybe I didn't. Aha. All right. I did miss a slide. Here is Lydia Davis. And this is good because I want to, you keep in mind the difference, what we just discussed, okay? The urgency to tell a story. This is Head, Heart by Lydia Davis. Okay. Heart weeps. Head tries to help Heart. Head tells Heart how it is again. You will lose the ones you love. They will all go. But even the earth will go someday. Heart feels better then. But the words of Head do not remain long in the ears of Heart. Heart is so new to this. I want them back, says Heart. Head is all Heart has. Help, Head. Help, Heart. Okay, so that's Lydia Davis. You're gonna just, I'm gonna cry through every one of these. So just hold on, this is me, I do this, okay? But I found that so touching, okay? But what I want you to think about is what's happening here. A lot of people would say, well, that's a prose poem, for God's sake. That's absolutely what it is. And believe me, there are literary conferences that occur where this discussion goes on for days. So we're not settling any arguments tonight. You can call it what you wish, but this is, it can fall under flash fiction or flash essay or flash memoir as far as that goes, okay? We have, let me talk to you about what you need when you're writing flash. You have to have, I'm gonna go down now. Let's see if I can get my screen to go. Here's where we are. We have story elements. Story elements are important for any flash. And those story elements, what I want you to do, I picked this particular slide for a reason, because this takes you back to 2nd or 3rd grade. And when you're writing, that's what I want you to think about. I don't want you to get all, overwhelmed by this process, which I do routinely. So I'm not faulting you if you do. I want you to go back to the basic roots of story and remember yourself when you're in second or third grade and the teacher wants you to write a story. And a lot of people who don't write fiction say, well, I can't write fiction. I don't know how to write fiction. Well, yes, you do. Yes, you do. It's not hard. Take yourself back to being in second or third grade and remember your teacher saying, okay, what do you need in a story? You got to have characters. You got to have a setting. You have to have a problem. And you need a solution, or in case of Flash, maybe a resolution, or that can be very ambiguous, okay? So when we're thinking of Lydia Davis's head and heart, we have two characters, correct? We have heart and we have head. We have a setting. And in this case, I don't know if heart and head, is this in a person? Or is this more symbolic of the world? It can be it can be both, right? And then what do we have? What's the problem? The problem is that heart is weeping because heart is losing, has lost someone that he or she loves. And the resolution in the long run is that head is there to help heart, which is what happens with all of us when we're suffering. We have our emotional side, we have our logical side. We're trying desperately to listen to our logic, but lots of times logic doesn't work when it comes to the heart. And that's what this is, okay? So that is Flash. In whatever way you want to say. I'm going to go on record as that is Flash. And that's a gorgeous Flash, by the way. All right. Now, I'm going to, let me look in the chat. I don't know. I see we have, yeah, the problem, death and loss. Yes, of course, Kathleen. That's exactly what the problem is in that. Hi, Carol. Very happy that you're here. Very nice. I'd love to see where everybody's from here. We've got a wide range of people from all over everywhere. You guys, I assume you can see the chat too. I hope you can. And you're going to see we have people from all over. And I'm so thrilled you're here. Thank you. But yes, Kathleen, the problem, death and loss. Okay. Now, here we are. We're back at story elements. We're going to go read a story now. This, let's see if I can move it. I don't know why I'm having troubles. Okay, there it is. Now, if you've taken my Flash class before, you've read The Wig, because I personally think The Wig is one of the best stories ever. And I'm not alone. I won the stories, short competition stories, very, very prestigious literary magazine. And I even found a commentary from Pamela Castro, who is a very well-known Flash writer and advocate. And she has a great newsletter, Pamela Castro. Write that down. Look on Google. You can find her newsletter. If you can't find it, tell me and I will get you the information. And but she is and she wrote. I just thought it was great. I didn't even realize that she had done this, but she wrote her own commentary on The Wig. Now, I want you to keep in mind this is 342 words, and which is astonishing that you can write a story in 342 words. I always think, well, at least I'm going to write 1,000. Okay. And a lot of people will go, well, I can't write, it's going to have to be at least 2,000. Okay. So our goal, we're always looking to write short, no more than 1,200. And the sweet spot really for a lot of things is no more than 750, but in this case, we've got 342. Okay, so here's the wig by Brady Udall. My 8-year-old son found a wig in a garbage dumpster this morning. I walked into the kitchen, highly irritated that I couldn't make a respectable knot in my green paisley tie. And there he was at the table, eating cereal and reading the funnies, the wig pulled tightly over his head like a football helmet. The wig was a dirty bush of curly blonde hair, the kind you might see on a prostitute or someone who is trying to imitate Marilyn Monroe. I asked where he got the wig, and he told me, his mouth full of cereal. When I advised him that we don't wear things we find in the garbage, he simply continued eating and reading as if he didn't hear. I wanted him to take that wig off, but I couldn't ask him to do it. I forgot all about my tie and going to work. I looked out the window where mist fell slowly on the street. I paced into the living room and back, trying not to look at my son. He ignored me. I could hear him munching cereal and rustling paper. There was a picture or a memory, real or imagined, that I couldn't get out of my head. Last fall, before the accident, sorry, my wife was sitting in the chair where now my son always sits. She was reading the paper to see how the Blackhawks did the night before, and her sleep mussed hair was only slightly longer and darker than the hair of my son's wig. I wondered if my son had a similar picture in his head or if he had a picture at all. I watched him and he finally looked up at me, but his face was blank. He went back to his reading. I walked around the table, picked him up, and held him against my chest. I pressed my nose into that wig, and it smelled not like the clean shampoo scent I might have been hoping for, but like old lettuce. I suppose it didn't matter at that point. My son put his smooth arms around my neck, and for maybe a few seconds, we were together again, the three of us. Okay, sorry. All right, tell me what stood out for you in that story. Just write a little line or something in the chat box so I can see. Thank you that you appreciate my depth of emotion. I knew I would do this. I hate that I cried, but I am very touched by these things. And I find that story especially touching. So if anybody, let's see, I've lost my thing that shows me. Oh, there it is. If anybody decides that they want to share their impression, please let me know, because we're going to talk about this story now. The image of the kid with the wig stuck on his head. Yes, and you say, and it's stuck like a football helmet. Mama died, exactly. This, very well, thank you. I'm glad you think my tears were touching. My impression was the silliness that turned to such tenderness. Yes, very true, Jan. I appreciate that. Remembering, Beth said, remembering the wife there let you know of her absence. Exactly. Characters were very clear and believable. Yes, Patricia. Shanice, family is a bond. Exactly. And Jan, that we were both in tears. Thank you, Jan. I'm not alone. And that the inclusion of his past wife in that second. Yes. I love the way the story evolved until we find out what the wig really was. Memory overcoming actual reality. Smell of old lettuce. Yes. That was funny. And we need a little moment of funny right there, right? I didn't see it coming. I liked that. This is, what is this? What is this going? I wondered until 60% through. Exactly. I'm just going to read just a couple more. The son's innocence. Yes. The contrast between what we expected the father to do and how he actually reacted. Yes, exactly. I love that line, we don't take things out of the garbage and put them on our head. No words were spoken. Yes. I was amazed at how much emotion was evoked. Yes. Surprised how this evolved the kid's refusal to take off the wig because he knew he was connecting with mama. Absolutely. All right, I'm gonna have to stop reading because we could spend all the time just talking about this one. So thank you for your comments. I'm gonna go. I don't know how to do this. Let me close that. Okay. So these are the things you see. This story. This is the goal of Flash. The goal is to touch you. The goal of any good storytelling is to touch the reader. Okay. To evoke emotion. Sometimes it would be indignation, sometimes it would be anger, sometimes it would be joy, sometimes it's tears, sadness, understanding, appreciation, all of those things. That's the goal of writing. I mean, we write to connect. That's why I write. And I'm guessing most of you write for the same reason. Now, I want to go, if I can, I'm going to try to, sorry. Okay, this is not where I'm going. I'm going back the other way, but we'll see if I can make it work. There we go. Okay, so this Flash had characters. Yes, had the father and a son and the absent mother. Exactly, had 3 characters, right? Setting in their home. Very simple. This is a very simple story. It starts out, there's not a lot going on there. You just think this kid's got this silly thing on his head and that's it. And then, so it sets it up, and somebody pointed that out, sets it up where you're surprised when it evolves into something much deeper, okay? The problem before it's over is something much, much deeper, right? It is the issue of this father and this son who are grieving over the loss of their beloved wife and mother. When you write, and then the resolution, there is no resolution when somebody dies. It's not like you can bring them back. You can't. But in that last line was golden, because for just those few seconds, we were together, the 3 of us. That's the resolution for just that little moment, just that tiny little moment. Okay. So that little story, that 300 and I think it's 42 word story, packed a very, very big punch. Let me see. Let me look. Yes. And Mary, you say, I like that there was no ribbon to tie it up tightly. Exactly. And in fact, that's interesting you said that, because I was going through, I flew to Texas today, so I had some time on the plane and was going through some of my stories after having done this. I've had a great time getting prepared for this. And that's my problem with most of my stories, is I try to tie them up with a pretty little bow at the end. And it was so obvious when I was reading them. And it was just like, okay, all right, you've already learned what you need from this presentation. And I hope you all will learn it too. Mary, well said. No pretty bows at the end. No pretty bows at the end. Okay, just let life be what it is and stop earlier rather than later. This is the key in Flash. Okay, now here are the tips on writing Flash, okay? This is from David Gaffney, who's a very well-known British Flash fiction author and also a judge of a prestigious award there, okay? Start in the middle. You do not have time in this short form to set up scenes and build characters, give a lot of backstory, okay? You're gonna start right in the middle. In this case, they didn't talk about when mom died. They didn't even talk about the boy getting up in the morning and and then saying hello, or they didn't know. They went straight to the breakfast table, started right in the middle. He's already got that. When did he put the wig on his head? He went out to the dumpster at some point. Okay. We don't know that, but we know that. okay? Because it's implied, okay? That's the other thing. Leave gaps. You don't have to fill everything in Flash. You know, when you're writing a novel, you can spend 3 pages on him going out and discovering that wig and putting it on and coming in and sitting, and then his father, what, you can't do that in Flash, okay? That's the beauty of Flash, all right? You're gonna get right into it. You're gonna go straight to the middle. Don't use too many characters. Now, I'm gonna stop one moment and tell you, I'm sending a recording to all of you of this presentation in the next couple of days. So you're gonna have this, all right? So don't panic that if you're trying to take notes. You're gonna have this recording and you can stop it when you wish, okay? All right, don't use too many characters in Flash. Seriously, you're not, I would highly recommend, we had 3 characters, one was absent. Don't try to do more than that, all right? And honestly, 2 and sometimes 1 is even better, okay? But 2 often, because you do need some dialogue often. Although you'll note that he didn't use dialogue, did he? No dialogue. This was all in his head. All right, now let's see if I can go to the next one. Oh, make sure the ending isn't at the end. I'm going to tell you that this is the most important piece of information I got from researching for this webinar, was this right here. Okay, I haven't known that. I've not seen that written like that. And I didn't know what it meant. I was like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. In microfiction, place the denouement in the middle of the story, allowing us time as the rest of the text spins out to consider the situation along with the narrator and ruminate on the decisions his characters have taken. Okay. I was just like, well, I have no idea what in the heck they're talking about. Denouement is when you're wrapping up the story. You've already had the climax of the story and now it's winding down, okay? But then think about this story of the wig. The climax of the story is when the reader understands that the mother has died and they're standing there. I mean, they're in that kitchen together. That's the climax. The rest of it is the denouement. It's the wrapping it up. Even in this 342 page word story, the denouement is, I wondered if my son had a similar picture in his head or if he had a picture at all. And then the reaction, he is reflecting on his recognition of what has happened. So the recognition is the climax of the story. That's the giveaway. The reader knows, aha. And now we have a reflection. That is golden information for me, okay? Because I haven't known that. And so what I do in a story is I write the ending. I write the climax, and then I'm like, I better write a lot more, and I write more. And before it's over, I should have stopped. You know, I could have the climax and one more paragraph, but I suddenly decide that's not enough. Okay. So once you realize where the climax in your story is, go straight into the wrapping it up and let that be all. Don't go on and on. That was the most helpful, honestly, and you're going to have to practice that. It's not, you may not even know what I didn't know. I had to look at my own stories. That's part of what I was doing today, was looking at them and seeing, that's where you went wrong with that story. You went on and on, or you stopped too soon. You hit the climax and then you went like, that was the big aha. And you have to be careful because some people, will tell you that, that some people say, oh, Flash is like, think of it as a joke with a punchline at the end. Be very, very careful about that. Everything I read has said, don't do that. There was a time when Flash, it just started and it got very popular over these last few years, that there was like that punchline at the end. People change in Flash, that's true. And you want them to change in a way that is interesting and unexpected, but that is not punchline. Okay, that's different. That is growth. All right, so don't make this, you know, and a lot of people get confused about that. And I really, really want to focus. I want you to be really aware of that. And you're going to see this is not a joke. This piece, the Lydia Davis piece, those are not jokey things. These are really heartfelt, deep, emotionally satisfying and deeply probing stories. Okay. Okay. So you're starting in the middle. We've already talked about that. Don't use too many characters. Oh, okay. Hold on. Yeah. Make sure your ending isn't your ending, which is what we just talked about. Sweat your title. Okay. Make it work for a living. Okay. Then in this case, the wig. So simple. The other was head, heart, or heart, hand, head. I'm not quite sure. But you see, but both of them do not give away anything in the title. So you have to read the piece. And then after you've read the piece and you look and you read the wig, that title, suddenly the wig is a symbol. And when you first read the wig, I don't know what that is. Now you know the wig is a symbol. So, and with heart and head, it's the same thing. It takes on a completely different, much more powerful impact after you've read and then you look at it. So that's what and you don't want to give away your story and your title. You know, when my little boy found a wig and we read, and it was like his mom. You know, obviously nobody had that title, but you know what I'm saying. All right, now make your last line ring like a bell. Okay, I think we can conclude that in both of these pieces, the last lines rang like a bell. All right, and last lines sweat the last lines, I would say. These are not things what I say with writing flash, and I couple it all the time with writing the 20 minutes a day, because oftentimes in 10, 20 minutes a day, you can write a flash. Try to write it all in one sitting so that you get the structure and you're writing just as fast as you can, you get it on the page. Okay. Then you go back and you can work it. All right. You can edit it. You can look at it. You can figure out what needs to stay, what needs to go. You can think, you know, how can I make this better? But, you know, don't think that this guy wrote that last line in his first draft. I sincerely doubt that. He worked that last line and he worked it until it rang like a bell. Okay, that's your goal. Your goal with Flash is for everything to work together so that it is this beautifully compressed piece of writing that moves your reader. So you can never go wrong with that. Well, in whatever you're writing. All right. Now, in order to do that, don't go, oh my gosh, I'm going to write a 350 word story, so I can't write one extra line. Don't do that. Give yourself, you know, imagine you just wrote your little picture, you know, drew your little picture in third grade. Now you're going to write your story, and you're going to write you're going to write a lot more. You might write 1,000 words. You might write 1,500 words. You might even write 2,000 words. Okay. And then what you do is that after you're done, you got your whole story, you go back and you start creating, you have that lump of stone and you chip it out for your sculpture. It is when you do that, it actually becomes one of the most fun activities you're ever going to have. Because as you chip away and you go, oh, I don't need that. Oh, that's not necessary. Oh, I'm going to cut every adverb I can find. That's your first job. Okay. I'm going to make sure that every adjective I have, I really need. I'm going to make sure that every little ramble I'm on, does that really suit the story? And you're going to cut those. And as you do it, you're going to watch this piece emerge. And it is absolutely thrilling. And if you can embrace that process, you will actually, I mean, that's the fun of writing. That will keep you writing for years, for the fun of it, pure fun. And that's the fun. That's the thing about Flash. You don't have a 4-year investment in a novel. You have 15, 20-minute investment in a story. So they don't all have to be perfect. Some of them will work, some of them won't. It's okay. You just spent 10, 15 minutes on it. You don't have to throw yourself off of a cliff if it doesn't work. It's okay. It's harder when you invest months and months of your life. That's why so many, very, very well-known novelists write Flash too, because they need a little fun in their life to do things where they can get their story out in a quick way. Okay. Now, I think we can't read this story now because we're going to run out of time. So I will send you the story I'll send this to you because I really want you to read it, or I can read it really quickly, but we can't discuss it because we do not have time. If you're going to write, no, I'm just going to send it to you. Okay. But you're going to enjoy the story. All right, let's move on. All right, now, in a final thought, Irving Howe, in his book, Short Shorts, kind of funny. Okay, everything depends on intensity, one sweeping blow of perception. In the short, the writer gets no second chance. Either he strikes through at once or he's lost. And that's the thing, is that and that's where a lot of my stories go wrong, is that I hit and then I'm not confident. So I hit it like 5 more times, and so I just need to pull back, make sure whatever it is that I want to be the revelation, the understanding, the awareness is strong enough that I can, the first time everybody will understand it. Okay. All right. Now, this is my advice, but I want to, we've got a lot of, no, we're good. All right. So this is what I want to do. I'm going to, I'll go through my advice very quickly. When you write, first of all, write a lot. Don't just sit down and play. Set your timer and write for 10, 15 minutes as fast as you can. Get the problem out. When you're writing Flash, get your problem out as fast as you can and let one sentence, a lot of times I will just start with provocative sentence. I hate your guts, she said, as she turned and slammed the refrigerator door. And I have no idea who she is. And I don't know who she's talking to, but obviously she's probably not talking to her child. Okay, so I'm guessing it's a relation, she's in a relationship. And so with that, I go, okay, what's happening here? And I literally build many of my stories line by line. I have no idea what's going to happen, but I do know that I have to have a setting, I have to have characters, I have to have a problem, and I have to have some resolution before it's over, okay? And so I immediately, it's like, okay, who is this person? Why is she so angry? How does the other person respond? And then we jump into the situation. That's one way to write. It's amusing. But I handwrite when I do that because it slows me down and it gives my mind a chance. When I type, I type too fast for that to be very satisfying. Okay. So I handwrite those and they're usually much better than if I typed writing anything. Okay. All right. So remember, you're aiming for a solution or a resolution in just a page or two. So this can't be, pages of this dialogue either. I always remember, a story without conflict and tension is hardly a story at all. You've got to have some conflict or a problem of some kind. All right. There's got to be something happening. Avoid tying your story up. There it is. Mary, as you said, with a pink bow, resist that temptation. If you're a person like me, it's hard to resist, but you got to do it. Okay. Another hint at situations. You do not have to tell everything. And I said, think of Meg P and you'll read her story, but think of the fact we don't know what happened to the mother in that situation. We don't know about the accident. We don't know what kind of accident. It's hinted at. We don't know. Okay. And that's all right. We don't have to know in this case. That's not what the story is about. It's about this emotional core. Okay. When you're think themes, okay, when you're writing this stuff, think of things like alienation, stagnation, isolation, grief, dying, separation. Okay. Think about tough stuff. Write about heavy stuff, things that matter to you. Don't just, I mean, you can play too. Conversely, you can write about connection and pushing limits and togetherness and joy and living life to the fullest, intimacy. But even with those, you're going to have a problem. Okay. And it can be, it can be these lovers who've had a fight. It doesn't matter. It can be all of those things, but we got to have some tension or the story will fall flat. Okay. That's just for good story, period. And experiment and take chances. These stories are written in 10 to 20 minutes. You don't have to write a winner every time, just like I said. Okay. So try something different. There are tons of different kinds of flashes. For tonight, we're just doing a straight narrative. There are lots of different types. Start with one line of tension-filled dialogue and go from there. That's what I was saying. Pick 3 objects in the room and write a story that includes all of them. That's my push cart nominee. That's what I did. I just picked 3 random objects in the room and I threw them in a story and I threw in some characters and wrote it. So there you go. Pick 3, take a memory that has some power for you and get one small part of it down on the page. Okay. Not the entire summer vacation with when your mother and father decided to get a divorce. Just that moment when you saw this moment between them and your father turn away. That might have been the moment. Okay. You just put that one down. Okay. Again, pick some funny line that you've heard and create a story around it. These don't all have to be, morose or even heavy. They can be fun. And open a book. One thing I often do is that I open a book, I just put my hand on a random word and that's my title. And I write straight from that. Okay. What you're doing, and I will tell you, this is great for brain plasticity. It really will get it keeps your mind hopping. Okay. Now this is what, we're going to listen to that in a minute, but I want you now to write something. Okay. And we're going to write for 10 minutes. I'll write with you. And you're going to write privately. And I don't really care what you write about. I mean, I'm giving you some choices here. These are from Nancy Stolman. I think it's great if you're right there and if you pick 3 objects in your room and you write a story about and include all of them. This is the key to that. Get them in the first 2 sentences, 2 or 3, because otherwise it's hanging out there and you're worried about it. Okay. Write a true story that is so blank that no one would believe it's true, but it is true. Write a story in which something transforms into something else. These are all the things you could do. Write a story that's based on or uses elements of mythology, any mythology of any culture or time. Write a story from the point of view of someone much older than you. Now, many of us are memoirists. That might be a natural for you. That's fine. That's great. I've written stories. I love those stories. Write a story that begins with and consists mostly of dialogue. That's another one. Okay. I don't care. And if you write a story that is totally different than that, it doesn't matter. You're not going to read your story. We've got over 40 people here. So what I'm going to ask is if you have a line or 2 after this 10 minutes of writing that you would like to share, and you're going to share it probably in the chat box. Okay. All right. So I'm going to find my phone, which I've got to walk over and get it, but you may start. And you're playing, just get your pencil out. I do this. I have 3 different groups where what we do is that we write for 10 to 15 minutes from a prompt. And I have a story that comes out of each one of those groups. That's one of the ways that I'm able to be productive. So use this time, okay? Right now, I'm gonna go, we'll write for 12 minutes, okay? So you may begin. go ahead and wrap up your last sentence because we're just about to end the timing. Whoops. Oh, okay. Okay, that's the timer. It's going on, it just went off. All right, everybody. Let me make sure I am not right. You can hear me, I believe. All right, I'm gonna let me go back to here. Okay, I'm good. I don't. All right, I'm trying to decide about the screen share. Okay, I'll just leave it there. All right, so here we are now. If you have a line or a couple of lines that you would like to share, that would be wonderful. Lucy wrote, my grandmother taught me to type, her greatest gift, and I complain and call her names. Years later, I joined the army, guns and paperwork. I walked into the office of chaos, into an office of chaos, typewriter gathering dust, and I became a rock star. I always intended to tell my grandmother what she did for me. That's a perfect flash right there. That's really good. Thank you, Lucy. That captures everything in just a few words. Very nicely done. So if you, this is Susan. Hi, Susan. When we admitted defeat and consolidated the two broken lamps into one, after many years, we finally found the real lesson. It was marriage. Ah, wow, nice, Susan. Yes. Okay, and what a perfect symbol. That's a perfect symbol. When you admitted defeat, surrender is a key to happy living in marriage and in life in general. And consolidated the two broken lamps into one. After many years, we finally found the real lesson. It was marriage. Wonderful. That was absolutely lovely. Jan, yes, I'm reminded of that day every time I look at my phone and see its cracked screen. Because I'm a grandma, it makes me smile. Okay, there's the story right there. I love that because we don't even have, we know how that cracked screen happened. You didn't have to tell us. And that's really nicely done. That's a good example of being able to leave things out. This is from Mary. The sunflowers she left on my table look fake and singed. She also left a bowl of chocolates, heart-shaped in pink foil. When they packed up and left, they still didn't know if the koi fish survived. I'll empty the water from the vase onto the dry and thirsty earth, a symbol to put out the flames too close to their home. Very strong, very strong. So this was the fire, obviously. Yeah. Yeah, and I love the use of these very specific things, the pink foil for the heart shape, the singed sunflowers that looked fake. And then that action on your part of emptying the water on the dry and thirsty earth. Very nice. Let's see what else. Carol, why can't I find you? Are you my brain fighting my creativity? That's funny. Okay. And this is a good example of, we can have a sense of humor here. Okay. Kathleen, not seeing all of these, maybe sent to host. Oh, okay. You're not seeing all of these, Kathleen. They should be sent to host and, oh, you know what it is. They're being sent to host and panelist. Let me get them send to everyone, but I don't know if I can change all of these now. Yeah, maybe, did it take them all to every, no?
No, it depends on how people have their settings.
Oh,
If you want
okay.
everyone to see, you have to switch the drop down to everyone.
I see.
Yeah,
So
but-
switch the
But
drop
since you're
down.
reading them, you don't have to fix them. And
Right, okay. Yeah, and then Lucy, I think you just got the answer on that one. Okay. All right. And does anybody else have anything else? Oh, let's see, 2 more messages. Let's see, this is, oh, Carol J, it wasn't meant to be funny. It's about aging. We're only here for a visit. Oh, wait a minute. Let me go back. I want to read the other one, Carol. Why can't I find you? Are you my brain fighting my creativity? Yes. Okay. So it was not meant to be funny. It is, in fact, we are only here for a visit. Yes. So put in that context, absolutely. Yes. And your brain does feel as if I feel that often, that my brain is fighting my creativity. Thank you for clarifying. That's a true story, Mary said about the fire. Joy wrote, the reflection of my face wasn't me. Washing with cool water didn't help much. Oh. Okay, now I happen to know that Joy, who's been in my classes before, likes very interesting stories. And I'm sensing that that's what that is, Joy. That could be a really great beginning of a story, or, well, you've written a story, so you need to go on with that one. I love that. Eileen, hi, Eileen. The scan results came back and show metastasis of the spine, hip, and ribs. News in an email. Is he a fool? Ah, that's very powerful. That's very powerful. News in an email. Is he a fool? Yes. Yes, he is a fool. If news is in the, very strong, very strong. And I like the fact that it's very specific. It makes it more powerful. Kathleen Hudson, her longing became the source of art, music, and poems. Her imagination pictured him even when he was gone. He did not see what she did. Ah, it's very poignant. That again, this is another example of, it's, you see, I mean, it's like poetry in that you get to put your own meaning on these and what they mean to you and what images they conjure for you. And that's one of the wonderful things about writing in general, but particularly writing short. And Kathleen added only a small piece of a piece a bit longer. Of course, I understand. But I think that small piece encapsulates a great deal right there, Kathleen. It tells us a lot right there. He did not see what she did. That's really powerful. Okay. Her imagination pictured him even when he was gone. He did not see what she did. No, that's almost a prose poem all on its own right there. Okay. Okay. Catherine has raised her hand, but Liz, you would need to help with that because I don't.
I think she lowered it, so I'm not sure if it was a mistake, but
Okay.
maybe it's
All
back
right.
up. Hang on.
Yeah, Christy, you wrote, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Hold on. Yes, some of these remind you of the short stories in Chicken Soup. Absolutely. Okay, Kathleen, that was a mistake on the hand. Okay. Yes, many of them will. Many of them will have that flavor to them. Yes, Christy. Because many of those stories are really meant to be heartfelt and to connect people, help them to understand they're not alone. They're chicken soup for the soul, right? Okay, I want to wrap up here unless anybody has anything else to share. I want you to, Liz, this is our moment here. I want you to hear.
If you can stop your screen share, I'm actually going to share it on my screen.
Perfect. Okay.
So give me 1 second.
All right. Let me get out of here. what I want to do now is I have two things, and they're both from Lydia Davis. One is a story, and it's only going to be, it's called A Letter to the Funeral Parlor, and you're just going to hear it. And this will give you a sense of Lydia Davis, who, and then after that, we're going to see an interview that's very short. It's only like 2 minutes, but it she gives some advice for new writers of this form of flash. Okay. And I think, but I want you to know that she is, I look her up, go to YouTube and watch some of her videos. She is so humble. It's so accessible, and also has a wonderful sense of humor. Okay, and you're going to see some of that in this. You're going to hear some of this right now. Okay, Liz, you can go ahead.
Then we were sitting there in our chairs in the living room, trying not to weep in front of your representative, who was opposite us on the sofa. We were very tired first from sitting up with my father, and then from worrying about whether he was comfortable as he was dying, and then from worrying about where he might be now that he was dead. And your representative referred to him as the Cremains. At first, we did not even know what he meant. Then, when we realized, we were frankly upset. Cremains sounds like something invented as a milk substitute in coffee, like cremora or coffee mate. Or it sounds like some kind of chip beef dish. As one who works with words for a living, I must say that any invented word like porta potty or pooper scooper has a cheerful or even jovial ring to it that I don't think you really intended when you invented the word cremains. In fact, my father himself, who was a professor of English and is now being called cremains, would have pointed out to you the alliteration in porta potty and the rhyme in pooper scooper. Then he would have told you that cremains falls into the same category as brunch and is known as a portmanteau word. There is nothing wrong with inventing words, especially in a business, but a grieving family is not prepared for this one. You are not even used to our loved one being gone. You could very well continue to employ the term ashes. We are used to it from the Bible and are even comforted by it. We would not misunderstand. We would know that these ashes are not like the ashes in a fireplace. Yours sincerely.
Okay, so that is an example of Lydia Davis. And I'm certain that that comes straight from her life, because she's written several things and is interviewed talking about when her father was dying. And so that would in fact be flash nonfiction, where she is writing this letter to the funeral parlor, cremains. And she's quite a wordsmith, and as you can tell there, and there's humor, but it's also got a depth. It's poignant at the same moment. And I think anybody that has had people die and have their ashes referred to as cremains can relate to that. Now I want to go ahead and share with you, this is 2 minutes, and then we'll talk a little bit after that. I'm going to go right up to the hour, but we'll talk a little bit about where to send flash for publication, that kind of thing. Okay, go ahead, Liz.
What is the most important advice you could give a writer?
That's difficult because I mean I take it seriously, advice, but there are several different pieces of advice. Really, you learn from models and you analyze them, you study them, you analyze them very closely. So one thing at a time. You don't just sort of read the paragraph and say, oh, that really flows, that's good. You say what kind of adjectives, how many, what kind of nouns, how long are the sentences, what's the rhythm, you pick it apart. And that's very helpful. Another thing I would say is to be very patient. So, and even patient with chaos, you have this beginning and that beginning and that beginning, and you're just worried and unhappy. But I wouldn't I wouldn't worry too much. I think it is a little chaotic. It's not neat. You don't start something and finish it, and there you go, and then start another thing and finish it. I would also say, but it helped me a great deal. Not everybody keeps a notebook by any means. Some writers somehow keep it all in their heads and bring it out when they need it. But I always keep notebooks, and it takes some of the tension and the worry away, because if you write it down, it may just be a note. It doesn't have to be the beginning of anything. And it also means that when you want to work on a piece of writing, you can go back to the notebook, and I have this beginning or that idea and this. So it makes it more relaxing. I don't ever start with a blank page. Maybe I did when I was trying to write these short ones. I did at that time. I said 2 a day, and so I had a blank page then, but I never do that anymore. And the last piece of advice going out into the world would be, don't ever cave into the pressure of publishers, or agents who say, well, you've written a nice book of stories, but we need a novel now, And if you're not a novel writer, don't feel you have to write a novel. So do what you want to do, and don't worry if it's a little odd or doesn't fit the market,
Thank you so much.
Okay. So that's Lydia Davis. And I think that that advice is extremely helpful. She has been writing these, she writes, some of her stories are 2 lines long. And you can find them online very easily. And they're pithy, and they get to it, and some of them are funny, some of them are not. So she has had this, she's taken lots of chances. She didn't look and go, oh, what does the market want? That's not what she did. She wrote what was important to her to write. And when she's talking about the little stories, she went several years ago now. And I think she was in France, and she stayed in a house, and she told herself she had to write 2 stories a day. And so that's when, and a lot of those stories are based on what she saw around her. And if she heard anything, she would write a story. She heard gunshots one day. And so she has a short story called A House Besieged. And it's very short. It's about the same as The Head Heart in terms of length, but it's very powerful. If you can find that, A House Besieged, Lydia Davis. She wrote a funny one about the mice in the house. She used what she saw, and then she jumped into the story from whatever she saw around her, which is another great story starter for you as well. Where do you send your flash? When you decide it's time to send, okay? One of the best things to do is, of course, is to always go and read some flash. And I'm going to recommend that you go to flashfictiononline.com. Again, you're going to get this video, so you can look at these, and smokelong.com, which is Smoke Long Quarterly. These stories are long enough to smoke a cigarette. Okay. Newflashfiction.com, and then brevitymag.com. Brevity is for nonfiction. It's kind of the gold standard in my mind of a lot of that. And I think that their word count is 750, nothing longer. Then at the same time, you can Google flash fiction, or in flash memoir or flash nonfiction, where to send it. And you're going to get a jillion things that tell you. It's not on here, but reedsy.com, reedsy.com. Reedsy is a great website, and they have a whole thing on flash fiction. I love Reedsy for many reasons, but I think you will too. When you're ready, and then these 2 books, which I actually have right here, flash fiction. This is flash fiction, and this is flash nonfiction. They're both by Rose Metal Press. They are, I use them, it's Reedsy, Reedsy, and I think it's reedsy.com. But even if you simply go to Google and type in Reedsy, it'll come up, okay? And the Rose Metal Press books are both excellent. I use those whenever I teach Flash. And then the very top one, submittable.com. Okay, when you're ready, you can go to Submittable. It is free. And there you can look, they'll have a list of, you can go through and it'll show you things that are in, you can, well, you can research on that site and it'll show you like Flash and what they're looking for. Another, which is not on here, I'm going to, is called newpages.com. And I'm going to send that to you and look for their call for submissions. And Duotrope. Now, I think Duotrope costs some money, but it's not a lot. I mean, it's maybe less than $5 a month or something. Susie, you are welcome. I appreciate you thanking me. These are all places. It's once, if you go to Submittable and you go there to submit, everything you have is still there. So you can, if one person, you can multiply, you can submit many places, but you can submit to 5 with one story. If they turn you down, you've still got the story on there. You can click on others and send that out to 5 more places. And in fact, I went to Submittable the other day. I saw a story I wrote a long time ago. And I saw that it was rejected, but then I saw that the editor had written a note, and I read the note, and he was like, I love this story. I just can't use it for this issue. Please submit other stuff to me. Well, of course, because it wasn't I didn't get it. I kind of had to droop around for too long, and I forgot that he even said that. So we can't do that. That's the point. I have a friend who's doing Bye, Jeannie Guy, love you. Thanks for this information. Great job, Lynn. Thank you, Jeannie, for saying. Anyway, I have a friend and she's publishing like crazy at this point. I think she's 82 and she writes Flash, but she has 50 things out all the time. She uses Submittable, and that sounds crazy, but just think of it this way. If you have 5 pieces, you just send those out, just do the math, just send them out so that it equals 50, and there you go. Okay, I think we need to go. We're 3 minutes from. If anybody, I think that's my last slide. I am so happy that you came. I have, Mary said, this has unfrozen my writing. Wonderful, Mary. Jan says, really enjoyed all this great information. Thank you, Jan. And Kathleen, might have written my first piece of fiction, Flash fiction tonight. Yes, there you go, Kathleen. I'm offering a class in Flash fiction. It starts on Monday. If you're interested, I still have a few slots left. I know several of you that have come tonight are going to be in that class. We will have another webinar next month. Liz, what's our webinar? Is that the
Our next webinar is actually a freebie. It's going to be an interview with our Sarton and Gilda Award winners from this year. So it's going to be on June 15th at 4 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Central. And it'll be a great Q&A, which will be hosted by my mom, Len Leatherwood. So
yes, I'm usually
keep an eye out for that.
And those Sarton winners and the Gilda winners, that will be very interesting. So I hope you'll consider listen. Because these are the people from Story Circle Network who have won in these, and this is a very competitive contest. And they are indie writers. They are lovely, and they'll have a lot to share. And thank you all. Let's see, do we have anything else we need to say, Liz? Oh, put on your calendar that in September, we're going to have a virtual conference. It's our second one. And it's, I think, September 17th. It's a Saturday. It'll be all
September
day.
17th, and a call for proposals will be coming out in about a week or so. So if you're interested in proposing
Yes.
a talk, I know Eileen did one last year. I see you here in the chat box, Eileen. So
Eileen,
if
that was a
anybody in here is
wonderful
interested,
presentation.
yeah,
Yeah.
keep an eye out on your email. And if you're not on our email list, you can sign up at Story Circle.
Okay, the last class is full, it says. Well, I can change that if you decide that you want to join. I had it at limited to 12, but I will open it back up for just a day or so. Okay. So I'll do that right after I get off of here. So try again later today. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Very good, Marie. I'll look forward to meeting you in that class. Thank you, everyone. I've enjoyed it extremely, very much. And I hope that you're going to start writing Flash, whether it's nonfiction or fiction. And I'm going to say good night now.